Randolph from GoldenCare, and get joined with my partner in crime here, Dennis Reiner. And Dennis and I have worked together for years and years. And for those of you who are new to this, it's first time on this webinar, I see a couple new names, which is good. Hopefully you're going to be enjoy what you hear today about product training. And we do, I think, 48 webinars in the 38 days here, and we're about 5 or 6 days into it. So we're excited to get it more exciting to do some of the sales webinars, of course, but we're excited to do these product webinars as well. So you know all the different things that are available to you in this Integrity Short-Term Care Initiative program that we're spearheading here. And you're in good hands with Dennis for sure, and hopefully myself. We've been doing this for a very long time, and we've been up to our necks in the extended care market through our relationships with a lot of carriers and partners and agents across the country for the last 25 plus years. So Dennis has had the opportunity and the blessing and the pleasure to go and do training for agents, as I have myself for most of those years, probably trained between the two of us well over 100,000 agents across over that time. And we've done a lot of consumer seminars as well, where we've got to go out and actually reach out and help people in the trenches. So I'm going to have Dennis and I jump back and forth in this today. And again, we're in different locations. So one of us might be yelling through your ear and the other one might be quiet, vice versa. But we do want to let you know that we're passionate about what we do. Those stats out there for all those years that we've been involved in this industry really haven't changed a lot. People do require these type of services, especially when we talk about extended care. You know, it's Long-Term Care Awareness Month right now. And most of us started out on Dennis and I's side in our field in the long-term care part of this. And then short-term care evolved over time to fulfill those needs that long-term care just couldn't do. So I'll have Dennis talk a little bit on the next slide about the shifting of the market. But at the end of the day, all we want you to know is that we're passionate about it for good reason. There's still 70% of the folks, once they turn 65, are going to need some type of extended care. And a lot of that, especially now with short-term care and these home health care only plans that we talk about, you know, the triggers to get benefits from those policies are much lighter. And they're indemnity policies that pay over and above, even if they have existing insurance. So they cover those amazing, amazing out-of-pocket expenses that everybody forgets about when something drastic happens. On any really level that's above just a real minor injury, people have out-of-pocket expenses that they didn't expect. And a lot of times, 3 out of every 5 personal bankruptcies, in this country are caused by medical expenses. And most of those folks, the large majority, about 80%, had health insurance, and they just got caught with things that they didn't expect. So we know it's important, and we know it's something that we have to go out and help provide people with. And that's really hopefully what we'll be able to do on this webinar today, talking about product, and on the webinars that we talk about more of the in-depth sales and method behind the madness, if you will. So introduce Dennis Reiner, and go ahead, Dennis, and jump in and talk a little bit, if you would like, about the shifting market, et cetera.
Thanks, Tom, and thanks everyone for joining us. You know, there has been over the years, as Tom mentioned, we've been doing this for a long time. So in the early days, of course, the products were a little bit more limited. They weren't as consumer friendly. And in recent years, there's been a big paradigm shift. A lot of it's because consumers have figured out and have put pressure on agents, who put pressure on carriers and organizations like ourselves. And of course, we'd like to think that we had the foresight, even without any additional pressure, to look for opportunities to serve more Americans. And the way that we do that is by having products today where consumers and agents align together, feeling like, hey, I need products that have more, not only more affordability from a cost standpoint, they have to be less complicated. They have to be easier for the consumers to understand, and quite frankly, for agents to understand, and they have to be able to be approved. The challenge that we've had in recent years is that the declination rates have really grown, because 80% of Americans today, at least those that are 65 and older, have at least one chronic condition. And so the evolution of plan design has ushered in recent years these standalone home health care products, and they really do have a tremendous place in the market today. And we'll talk a little bit about this from a standpoint of being able to help you to understand this, because it does come down to what we like to say about underwriting and availability. And so I believe, Tom, as we talk about these products, we're also talking about kind of where they're, in essence, where they're available. But before we get into that, we want to talk a little bit about the kind of some of the differences as far as, and I know that you can outline this and cover um, kind of the landscape, if you will, and how it contrasts, to what we've been covering in our short-term care menu as well. So I'll let
You
you
bet.
pick that up, and we'll come back and talk about where they are available.
You bet. That's the one thing you'll hear us say a lot on this about one of the biggest abilities of these plans across the board in this short-term care initiative is their availability. So we're going to show you a map about where they're available. But today is because we're talking about these home health care only plans, we wanted to talk about just a broad overview of when you decide which plans. And that's what some of our other webinars are about, how do you select the product and plan design, et cetera. So the first thing, just to give you a wide background, for some of you, this is a major review. For some of you, it's a little bit newer if you're not involved in this market. So basically, when you have out there the home health care only plans that we're going to talk about today in more detail, you're going to see it's really broad underwriting, super broad, where it's literally just a couple questions, sometimes only one question to find out if we can throw some protection that way to that client. Okay. And because of that, there obviously is a risk reward. There's limited benefits a little bit where they have design benefits in those plans. And certain times they have limitations on the home health care aids, et cetera. And we'll talk about that as we get into the products. So needless to say, there's a little bit less risk to the carrier, but the great news about it is you can throw the net so incredibly wide. And we'll talk about that today quite a bit. And then on the flip side, on our other trainings, when we get into products and we get into the method behind the madness, we talk about our full comprehensive short-term care plans. We got great selections there, as you know, for Manhattan Life and Wellaby and GTL. And those obviously have more underwriting questions because they're going to offer larger and more comprehensive benefits, including obviously the facility and the home health care. So there's more risk to the carrier. And basically, when you look at the highlighted home health care only plans, we have GTL's home health care only we'll talk about today. Manhattan Life has a great home care select. And there's other plans out there, but as part of our short-term care initiative, those are our two main insurance offerings on the home health care only. We're going to talk quite a bit today in the few minutes we have you about the True Freedom home care plans, because those are really turned out to be a great option for folks because of the fact they're in all 50 states, as we'll talk about in a minute. And then, of course, in our comprehensive short-term care plans, I already mentioned, we do have several selections there that do a bang-up job as well. So again, one of the greatest abilities, availability, it all starts and ends with underwriting. Dennis and I know that. You go out and we use that tagline a lot. You buy these plans more with your health nowadays than with your checkbook, because that is something that the carriers have, and we have tools to help you maneuver around that we certainly will educate you about within these training webinars. But the main thing we have to look at is which companies can we consider for which clients. Sometimes they'll prefer a home health care only plan, even if they're healthier, and that's great. Sometimes when we get into our 201 classes, we talk about we might sell them a full-blown comprehensive short-term care plan, maybe from Manhattan for Omniflex or something, and then complement it with a Manhattan Home Care Select or a GTL Home Care or True Freedom or something. So you have double dipping on that home care side because people want the extra protection. So we call those combination or stacking of policies, and we can do a lot of that with these policies as well. Okay, so today we're going to just make sure we can offer some type of protection to almost everybody in those 50 states. And Dennis, I'll just flip her back to you quick. I have the STC and the home health care quickly on these slides.
Yeah, no, and I think that's important that we have both, Tom, because there is combo opportunities and to give people this package of protection, if you will. And sometimes because of the underwriting, we might skinny down one version of a plan, such as the short-term care, and then we load up the home care and we backfill it. And it doesn't take a lot of sophistication from an agent standpoint. You just have to get comfortable with knowing the rules of the road, so to speak, as far as where the carriers are available. And so here, GTL Recover Cash, approximately 37 states, been out the longest of our menu here that are our proprietary products. And OmniFlex coming up right behind it with 32 states. And Tom is working with the team at Manhattan to go back to some states that were problematic, such as Pennsylvania and Virginia, and we'll even take a stab at going after. Forget about California and New York and Florida, but looking at Minnesota and maybe even trying to get into Washington. And so Wallaby is the most recent entry. Came out in August, so as such, they haven't gotten to their full complement of states yet. They're in 10 states to start with, and more coming in 2024. I think from what the Wallaby people have told us is they expect to end up with about 30 states total. And so we're hoping that we can squeeze out a few more with OmniFlex, and GTL is probably at their max. And on the home care side, the focus of today's webinar, you can see again, about 34 states with GTL. They've been the industry leader. They really set the trend for the short-term home health care only plans. And coming up right behind them is Manhattan, just recently upgraded, and we had some opportunity to have some influence with giving them the suggestions that they needed to make that product better than their previous version. And there is those previous version states that are still out there that will convert to the home healthcare select states. It just takes a little bit of time. And then, as Tom indicated, that Carolina Blue, as Tom reminded me of yesterday when we were on the webinar, because I said, "What color is that?" He says, "It's Carolina Blue." I said, "Okay, all right. It's you're obviously not a Duke fan." So the True Freedom is in all 50 states, and surprisingly, some people shy away from a non-insurance product because it's more like a membership. And we're going to have a webinar, I believe, tomorrow that is actually on the True Freedom itself. But it has served very well its purpose of being a niche player, especially in states like California, New York, Florida, where we typically have not had, in Washington, where we've not had some of the other short-term care, extended care, or even standalone home health care offerings. So this is a map, and of course, we'll take you to the site a little bit later where you can see all this information and be able to, have know where you have a resource page to go to. And Tom's going to outline for us kind of this bird's eye view, if you will, kind of a side by side, because really we're spotlighting today mainly the GTL and the Manhattan, and they are very similar. But kind of the devil lies in the details, as often an expression often that's used. And there is some separation points that Tom will walk us through between the products. In pricing, you're going to see, quite similarity. And again, both are great solutions, and we're not trying to position one over the other. We're just trying to give you kind of the understanding of what is available to you. And you might be more passionate about Manhattan, or you might be more passionate about GTL because you do other business with each of those carriers. So they both are great solutions. So Tom, I'll let you kind of outline, because on the surface they all look really pretty much the same. And as you outline this, I think everyone will begin to see exactly how they stack up.
You bet. Thanks, Dennis. And again, this is more of a bird's eye view, because the one thing, remember the availability, one of their biggest abilities, well, here's right away out of the gates, you can see the issue ages. Again, for if you have younger clients for some reason, or the very old from 85 to 89, or 86 to 89, I should say, then you can see Manhattan did a good job of stretching that a little bit. But again, excuse my cough, you guys, I'm so sorry. These policies both are very, very simple, and they're put together kind of, we call them design benefit plans, okay? So GTL's 360 days is their days of care that they cover. Once you go on claim, you get that many different days of care. So it might stretch well beyond 360 days, or 365 in Manhattan's case, because you don't necessarily have to get coverage every single day, right? And then both of them are set up on, excuse me, 3-option close, or 3-option choice. So you can see there the GTL keeps it simple with ABC, and Manhattan has their 3 as Classic, Premier, and Deluxe. And basically what they do is they'll have a combined maximum daily benefit of these plans. And you can see here they're the same, 150, 300, and 450. Okay. And until just literally weeks ago, these plans were almost identical across the board. And then GTL made some aggressive moves to enhance their plan. And I'll show you that as we go through this as well. But first, just to show you the similarity side more, you can see there, they basically break them apart in medical services or types of home healthcare services. So you have that maximum overriding or hanging out in the background, but any given service you have in a given day, if you have a skilled nurse come in or an RN or a regular nurse come in, you can see there a little bit of differences between the plans, not a deal breaker, but little subtle difference, right? If you chose plan A, you'd get 75, 150, or 200 for plan A, B, and C respectively. Same exact thing with the Classic, Premier, and Deluxe for Manhattan. That's for the RN. On the general nursing, Manhattan just made it really simple and just said any type of nursing, but GTL knew that there are obviously less cost to that, so the indemnity benefit pays out at 60, 120, or 200, as opposed to the same 75, 150, 200, okay? So I won't spend a lot of time on these. Physical therapists, speech pathologists, you can see there, they're all the same concept. So what happens if I had an occupational therapist come in on the same day I had an RN come in? Then for plan A, for example, on GTL, I would have $75 for plan A for the RN services that day, plus 75 for the occupational therapist that day. And now I've hit the top of my 150 for plan A for my maximum daily benefits. So even if I had a speech pathologist come in that same day after a stroke or something, in this example, it would say, well, we can't pay for all three. We're going to send you that check for the 150 for that day, and the rest would come out of pocket. But again, most of the times that doesn't happen very often where you have all of them come in on the same day, of course. Okay. So makes sense there. So pretty easy stuff. And you can see they're very similar, if not identical. 75, 150, 200, 60, 120, 200 for the chemo, 50, 100, 200 for the respirational and enterostomal. So you can see they're very similar. They both offer medical social services. Slurred those, didn't I? Medical social services, which is 100, 200, to 300, depending on your plan you chose. And then the home health area aid benefit until just recently was identical at $40, $80, and $120. And I'm going to show you in a second how they changed that just recently, okay? So the prescription drug benefit is 300, 600, 900. Remember how powerful this is, you guys. The average 65-year-old has 27.3 meds or something like that they get per year that are either refills or prescriptions. So a lot of folks who aren't healthy enough to get a more robust plan will end up where they're going to have need a lot of drugs or have a whole shoebox full of meds. So these prescription drugs are $10 per prescription that are generic, and 25 per prescription drug that are brand names. So you can see the 900 might be pushing it, but sometimes people will get that full $900. So GTL has done that better than any company out there as far as giving those rebates. Manhattan is right behind them. They're at 300, 600, 600. So not a big difference, not necessarily a deal changer, but a little bit of enhancement there from GTL. But what GTL did that really shook the industry is right here. They're really a limber company. If you hear us do our training on their GTL short-term care, or today we talk a lot about one of the powers of GTL is they're very limber and very mobile and very fast acting to hit industry trends. So what they did is they realized that maybe part of it was Dennis and I's fault because we were out training, talking about these home health care only plans. You know, most of the time you get care at home, it's going to be a home health aid. Any study you look at, that shows that's the overwhelming amount of help people get besides individual personal caregivers at home, family members, etc. When you get organized care, it's usually a home health aid is the number one that people lean to. So it was a big benefit of those comprehensive short-term care plans because they were so liberal on paying home health aids. But now GTL really stepped up the bat and they had no increase in their premium from their existing plan. And they went out and said, you know what, let's change that from 40, 80 to 120 to 50, 100, and 150. So now they're going to do it for the 150. And the biggest change they made there is not just the 50, 100, 150, but they allowed to have the home health aid upgrade go for the entire 360 days of the plan. huge difference because all the other home health care only plans out there usually limit that to the 60 days. Now they're saying, no, if you have this plan, we'll let you have 360 days of home health aid benefits. So I'm spending more time on that because it is such a drastic increase in there. Plus, they went a step further, and one of their favorite new benefits that they put on their comprehensive short-term care plan. They now include that on their new home health care only plan, and they have the T-Care available, which is a family caregiver concierge service, which is really big for family caregivers so they can avoid burnout. Plus, they throw in the fact that you can find easy way to get $3,500 for family caregiver in one lump sum, a one-time payment. So a really nice increase. There is a little bit of a policy service fee for that because they have to pay T-Care, but it's very nominal, and it turns out where it definitely doesn't change the overall spectrum or landscape of this plan. It's very strong. So Dennis, I don't know if I want to add to that or just go into talking a little bit about the availability.
Well, Tom, I just want to bring up one quick point on the prescription drug is that you don't have to be on claim to actually use that particular benefit. So you can submit your receipts in, and it's a great way to mitigate your premium, and you don't have to actually be on service. And as Tom mentioned, we work very closely with both Manhattan and GTL, and because these are products that we've had influence on the design, and we always are encouraging them, and we're working with them right now on something else with GTL, and so we may have something else new to be talking to you about here in the near future. But the availability, this is where the new plan is, and everyone gets so excited about that upgrade to that 360, and as Tom indicated, and they want to know, is it everywhere in all 34 states? And so you can just see, I think there is one addition, Tom, to this, which is South Dakota, I think just recently came on, that's not listed on this particular map here. And so, but it's going to take, each of these states will come on in short order, and eventually you'll have all the same states that where the previous version, if you will, of the GTL short-term home care was available. And it's important, again, that you have options for your clients. It's important that your clients also understand if they waited too long to plan ahead. You can see here in terms of how easy it is. There's a couple slight differences in the application, and we'll go through that right now. You can see that right here with what Tom has already put in front of you. Is the applicant currently in a nursing home, assisted living facility, or receiving home care or similar types of benefits, and they have to obviously not be receiving care, not be ADL deficient. And to get to the option C, they have to also make sure that they are not planning to go in the next 60 days, for a hospital stay. But as close to, pretty darn close to near guaranteed issues you're going to find. And again, especially when you're talking to folks in that upper age market, maybe who have some health concerns, they're one of the 80% that has one of those chronic conditions that we talked about. Your options may be getting more limited as such.
Yeah, Dennis, good job on that. I apologize. The one I was showing there was from the existing home care plans for those states. The new ones is right here. This is the actual app, and I had a note from previously to change that on this presentation. I never did, Dennis. My bad. But here's the actual app. Dennis said it's a little bit different now. This is what he's talking about, and you can see there still unbelievably easily the applicant current living in a nursing home or assisted living or receiving home care. The applicant requires assistance or supervision with ADLs. And then within the past 12 months, the applicant been diagnosed as having been prescribed medication for memory loss, Alzheimer's, et cetera. So you can see there, same premise of what we showed in the previous screen. It's just worded a little bit differently. So I didn't want that to surprise you if you went out and wrote an app. And then if you have option C, that's that other one. Again, it's just worded a little bit differently, but I wanted to make sure I showed you that. So sorry, Dennis, about that.
No worries. And I think, again, one of the separations with Manhattan over GTL is not only that issue age and 365 versus 360. And again, each of these carriers have their advantages, right? But you'll notice here on the application, there's no question about the cognitive and no question to get their deluxe plan about scheduling to go into a hospital in the next 60 days. So again, you have to be mindful of who it is that you're in front of and what their situations are, because that may direct you where you want to go. You might be really enamored with that whole 360-day home health aid benefit with GTL, but if the issue of something cognitive related comes up, you know that they're not going to be a candidate for GTL, and they'll only be a candidate for Manhattan. So both products are outstanding. And I know, Tom, we were mentioning a little bit about the also having the option to go to True Freedom. And although we have a special webinar coming up on True Freedom, I believe that we want to just touch on it just to let people know that what makes it a little bit unique is that it's actually a service contract, and there is no medical underwriting. It's just suitability, and the suitability questions are there. And you know, I think we touched a little bit on the plan design opportunities here, and there's some things you'll hear that are a little bit unique to our partners with Integrity that we're making available with this particular product, because True Freedom, although we have this exclusive relationship for this product, there's two sides of this product, and we're offering what we call the affinity side, because it has an additional base plan and an additional member discount that's not available on the individual side. So again, some advantages that you're going to have with the whole Integrity makeup. And again, it's a little bit different than the indemnity-based solutions we talked about with Manhattan and GTL, because you're buying home care hours, and those hours can be actually utilized with a network of home care agencies that are available with True Freedom, and they're the list of all the names that you've come to know. And I think, Tom, we have that list that we can share with the group, and you know, it's the Visiting Angels, the Comfort Keepers, that Synergy, which you see there on the screen. They're actually the third largest home care agency in the country. And they actually refer to True Freedom as the gold standard when it comes to paying claims, because they pay claims on a weekly basis, and they really have done a great job. I think also, in addition to that, it's just the importance with all of these solutions is helping clients to be better prepared, you know, to knowing that if they are better prepared for when their health changes, you know, these costs, whether it's standalone home health care, whether it's the home health care hours. By the way, with that True Freedom, there's also anytime hours, 24/7, where a friend or neighbor can actually provide services, not a family member. But the key is you've got to get to your clients and have that conversation with them before their health changes. And that's really so important. I don't know if you had something else that you wanted to add to that, Tom, in terms of because I know we're going to talk a little bit about that, having the conversation. So
you bet. You know, Dennis, good job on that. Sorry, I was trying to look at the chat and some of the questions that we have. So we'll give a second at the end to do that. And one of the things that Dennis is talking about is the True Freedom, that I really want to make sure you guys go to that training if you want to, or jump on one of our webinars. We have a recorded training talking about the True Freedom plan, because that one's a little bit different. And again, it's a little bit of a curveball because it's not an insurance product, but it really leverages dollars nicely. And I really can't stress enough. It's been so nice for us across the board, and brokerage, and for our Integrity friends, for the fact that when you're out talking to people, it's nice to know you have a plan. Somebody asked, is there anything available in California? And that was what really leads into this, is that, to answer your question, yes, True Freedom is there. California is one of those states, if you missed the early part of the webinar, which this gentleman did, we can't get short-term care or home health care only plans in some of those states that are really picky. They think they're protecting their consumers, and anybody who's been around for a while knows that it actually kind of limits them and doesn't give them a lot of opportunity to self-insure and help themselves. But unfortunately, They don't get some of these insurance plans, but the good news is now True Freedom is a great option out there. And we obviously saw a lot of that in Minnesota and California and those states that don't have the other options, because it is really nice to be able to leverage dollars. And if you go to that training, you'll see, Dennis probably knows off the top of his head, but it's just amazing how leveraged those plans are, as far as you're paying pennies on the dollar for the actual care that you're getting based on your prepayments. So
You
Dennis,
really are, Tom, and I'm sorry just to pick up on that. You are, and even those small plans can last a couple of years, and the platinum plan can, could probably last almost 10 years on the home care side. And not that we're having a conversation today about trying to get you to think outside the box, but the reality is, there is opportunities, where right now we're talking about the onesie twosie and really the one-on-one selling opportunity. But when you start looking at some of these opportunities, for example, with that True Freedom, we've just done some very big affinity association business in recently in the state of New York, where we didn't have product availability, and it was a union, and we were able to help these retirees get coverage. So look for opportunities outside of maybe your own comfort level and outside of maybe normally what you do, because you might bump into things that you never thought you had a solution for, and now you do. And so the site that we've created is integritystc.com. Tom's scrolling through it right now. And yesterday, Tom did a full presentation on our InstaPivot. Now, with these home care products and with the True Freedom, you don't really need that type of an underwriting tool, because these, as we said, have limited questions, but it does come in handy in more of the extended care conversation with those comprehensive short-term care products that we talked about. But we've got a very robust site here. And again, all of this is available to you to go as a kind of a one-stop shop, if you will, to get access to all the products. And, I really have appreciated, Tom, and I know you get this as well, the number of emails I've received from people who've just said, I can't believe that site. You guys have done such a fabulous job of providing us everything in one place. No longer do we have to worry about where are those PDFs of that brochure for XYZ product. And we appreciate those compliments. And again, we feel like we've gone above and beyond, because of that's what Integrity does. Those of you that sell Medicare, about Medicare Center, all of those services are available for free. And again, even that InstaPivot tool that Tom actually created when researching what's on an underwriting app, all of that is free. It's not a subscription service that you have to pay for. And so, Tom, I'll let you pick back up on some of the things that you're showing here, the folks on the call, as far as the recordings.
You bet. Excuse me. In the sales area, you notice that I was right here and I clicked on full webinar showcase underneath, or you can find it here on a drop down if you'd rather look at the little screens. But we had had Corey enhance it. Excuse my cough again. Had Corey enhance it here, and you can see all these different webinars that we're giving here will show up on here. The True Freedom product we talked about. If you want to go and get a quick little recording of that, you can certainly listen to it. These are the more in depth, and there's several of them, and you can see probably on a couple pages now of different webinars that we have available for you. And you hear me say that old cliche every time, if you've been on multiple webinars, we don't throw you out of that plane without a parachute. We want to make sure you have different things available for you. So we have a fast facts library that goes into some of the benefits of some of the plans. The InstaPivot tool we talked about. Again, I usually go a step further, and like Dennis said, for home healthcare only plans, you already saw the underwriting questions, and we do have some agents in Medicare who can take the path of least resistance and just go out and make sure they get something in place, because it's so important when we get into our sales later on this afternoon. And by the way, we have a plan design webinar that talks a little bit about how to start that conversation and figure out the best plan design. And part of that is to try to teach agents to say anything's available and anything's better than nothing. And again, these plans, as you just saw, are very robust and very strong. But we do like you to say, you know what, find out about the health first, and find out if you can get a full-blown short-term care plan. Yeah, most people can. So most of the people you're going to be in front of can get a little bit more robust plan. And again, they'll thank you for it at claim time. So we have tools like the InstaPivot tool in different ways we can find out if they qualify for those bigger plans. And then you can complement them, like Dennis said, with the home health care only plan if you'd like. So I won't talk too much about that on this call, but we do have marketing assets to get other agents. If you're an agency, if you have consumers, you have some consumer info pack here that'll give you different consumer leads you can use on social media or via email. And then we have down here, I call Dennis's corner down here with his fireside chats and some different sales strategies that he's accumulated over the years he's been in the industry. So some really nice things on both the marketing side and again, on the home healthcare side, any one of these products, we have full information about and documentation and assets for that as well. But Dennis, before we wrap it up here today and let these folks go, did have a couple questions on one was how do we get paid on the True Freedom plan? That one you sign up and we have an enrollment to be able to sign up so they know who you are and have your payment information. You obviously don't have to be insurance licensed as far as any certain certificates or anything like that because it's a non-insurance plan, but we do have the availability for you to get signed up with that. I believe there might even be a link on the site, Dennis. I don't know if you know that or not.
They just have to go, Tom. Maybe some of the partners are already set up, and if they are, right. Then they can make it available to you and send out the contracting is very easy. If it happens to be a partner that you just are bringing it to their attention and they weren't aware of this, just have them reach out to me. Send an email to me, and we'll make sure that we get them set up first. We want to make sure that you're always going through the relationships that you have that brought you to this particular training, because you can't come necessarily direct to us per se, because we're here to serve all of our partners. But we want to make sure that you get access to the product, and we're happy to have that conversation with the marketer and partner that sent you the invite to make sure that you get access to that product.
So that's actually on our closing slide for the agent who sent that in. Our closing slide, we always say the next steps is up to you to contact your marketer and say, hey, I want to get appointed with these different carriers. Somebody else typed in asking about the GTL product. When they did that upgrade, Dennis, I know you were working closely actually with the GTL team. Do you have any insights on how they work as far as if I have a policy or if I sell a policy in a state that it can't come out with the new ones yet? Do they have the ability to upgrade?
Yeah, it's not upgrade. You have to take out a new plan, Tom, on that, and it's and so we already had that with actually one of our key marketers who reached out to me, and he had an existing GTL plan, and that was what the process was.
Right.
These are great plans, and remember, one of the things that we didn't cover too much on this particular call, but the GTL and the Manhattan are both in 5-year ramp ups on the as far as the ages. So you do have to be a little bit careful, making sure that you're fully disclosing to the client that whatever age that they started with may not be, those rates go up in 5-year increments. And unlike the short-term care, extended care products, where the rate you start with is the rate that you stay with. So that again is all information that would be found on the site when you get into the respective products, but they both work exactly the same way, both GTL and Manhattan, with respect to that.
And just to go further on what you're saying, remember I think they had to do that just for logistics to try to keep track and not have too much confusion at the policy level. So they didn't just automatically say everybody gets an amendment. But the good news is, again, for the agent who asked that, is if you were to go sell one now and say, hopefully if this comes out in the next several months, you haven't even changed your age. So I can go in and it's only going to be a slight difference in premium because of the fact that, and you can obviously go on their site at GTL and do a test for another state that it's available in and probably get a really easy idea, or we can help you with that too. But the pricing for the home healthcare side, they didn't even change their pricing for that side, but they did obviously add a little premium load for the T-Care side. So I guess that's the best we can do, is to tell people, if I get this in place now, let's get something in place to protect you. And then later on, I can come out and try to get something to help you when they upgrade the plan, if you want to do it that way.
And Tom, just with respect to the True Freedom, again, there's a separate webinar, but that rate is not a 5-year ramp up. That rate is it's the same rate. They're unisex rates as are the GTL in Manhattan, but the difference is it's the whatever age you are, that's the rate that you stay with in terms of with the True Freedom. And so whether you're 18 or 82, everyone pays the same rate. And again, that's available in all 50 states. So, last thing I would just say, Tom, and summing this up, and I know that you and I are both very passionate, as we've said earlier, about this. That's why we're so willing to want to help everyone who's coming to these webinars and help our partners, because we have such a strong belief in these solutions. But we're in the problem-solving business. Don't forget that. I mean, that's what we do. And if you're not that resource to your client, we say even on our site, if not you, who? If not now, when? I mean, the reality is, if you don't extend yourself and get outside your own comfort level to look at these products, your clients will find that solution through someone else. I promise you, they will. And so be that resource and get back with your marketer. Get signed up for the carriers that make sense for you. I mean, there's a great menu. You don't have to have all the products, but you pick and choose what fits your situation the best and fits your, and you may, as I said, be more predisposed to one carrier over another carrier because you may write some of their other products, their dental vision hearing or their hospital indemnity or whatever. But all the solutions are having more arrows in your quiver is certainly better. And these products are easy to learn. So it's not as if it's because of the similarity that we just walked you through, slight little differences, but not dramatic differences. So you could pivot easily from Manhattan or to GTL. So Tom, that's all I have for today. And I know we have another one coming up here shortly. So you better rest your voice.
I know, isn't that bad? I keep thinking I'm around the corner and not going to be coughing on people. And then I talk so much during the day that it acts up. So I might have to do the old hot tea use here coming up. But join us at 2 p.m. If you can handle a couple more coughs in your ear, it might be worth your time. 2 p.m. Central Time, again, from the same marketer that brought you on this webinar. You should see an invite to that. And we'd love to have you on. That's designing a plan. And again, within the limitations of a webinar, we try to go through and show you kind of a method of madness of how we go out there and start designing plans for folks in different circumstances, et cetera. So hopefully you'll enjoy that. And thank you very much for your time jumping on this webinar today. Dennis, as always, thank you very much. And everybody have a great day.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day.
The next step is yours. Contact your marketer for more information and to start offering short-term care solutions to your clients. And be sure to sign up for our other short-term care hot topic webinars.